When my Mauser was having problems with light strikes, taking the advice of many, I bought a Wolff firing pin spring kit, thinking that it would solve the problem, and it didn't. But that doesn't mean it won't solve your problem, so if you want to see the value of the Wolff spring kit, stay tuned. For a long time, I thought the Wolff firing pin spring kit only came for the Kar98K style Mauser and not the Yugoslavian Mausers. If you don't know, the Yugoslavian Mausers have a slightly shorter action, so they can't take all of the parts that work with 98 pattern Mausers. Eventually, I found one for an M48, which also worked on the 2447 Mauser, so I bought it, and here's how it came.
The only thing that's on the other side of this package is the shipping label. All right. And this is how it came. This paper is folded up inside. It just has the item I purchased, the seller, packing slip. I bought this from eBay, and then my address is in this corner that I'm covering up. And here's the spring kit. So you can say it's M48 rifle service pack, and then has a stock number. Comes with a limited warranty. Not going to read all this stuff right now, but it is a Wolff Company gun spring. And it comes with a few different springs. I believe one of these is the trigger spring, one of them is the spring that goes inside of the cocking piece, but the main one that I'm looking for is the main striker spring. As you can see, the one that is in here is noticeably longer than the striker spring that was in my rifle, so hopefully this will lead to more consistent firing when it comes to surplus ammo. I predict that this may be a little bit harder to get in, so I thought I would put it in on camera too. But you can see this one fits much looser. Another problem I was having with mine is that it is bent, so it tends to stick. I think this one not being bent will also help it to have less problems. All right, to put this back on, we just need to get this oriented like that. Oh, that is quite a bit stronger and is definitely going to be more of a pain to get on and off. When you're doing something like this, it's really easy to get the webbing in between your thumb right here caught in there. I really don't want to do that because that would hurt quite a bit. All right, there we go. That one got it in. So the way I did it was I grabbed it like this instead of like this like I normally do. So then this should just screw right back in here. And there was a little bit more resistance on the inside of there. I don't know if that's because the spring is wider or just because it's longer and it's getting compressed more. So let's put this in my rifle. All right. I have it in my rifle, so we're just going to see that it still functions, and I'm going to let that down slowly since I don't have any 8mm snap caps. One of the questions I have about this is it going to make it harder to pull the bolt up? And I don't think so.
So as you can see, this Wolff spring kit was quite a bit stronger than the spring that was originally in my Mauser, and because of that, it took a lot more effort to actually get in place. Now, usually with springs, they are really strong at first, and then they have a set, and then they're good for a long time, at least with a well-made spring. And that was the case with this one too. It was really strong at first, and then it had to set a little bit, but after it set, it held its strength since then. So this is where it is now. I'll hold it a little closer to the camera. You can see that before it was sticking out quite a bit further than from the end of the striker. Now it's pretty close to the back of the striker. Hopefully, and only time will tell, but I've had this for a few months, that's because of the set, and it's not going to really shrink much further than this for a very long time. Generally speaking, springs should be good for a long time if they're well made, but there is a period of time when they're brand new that they are really, really stiff. But now it is about the same level of difficulty, maybe a little bit harder to get this spring installed because it's had that set period. So I was hoping that this would fix my Mauser, but when I took it out at the range, I had no luck. So the first one is check ammo from factory BRNO. Failure to fire. Fired right, but on the second hit. And the reason for that is, if you saw my video a few weeks ago, the real problem was that my firing pin depth was not long enough. However, once I fixed that, this spring has been working perfectly. Even some rounds that I've seen videos of people really struggling with, like that Bulgarian ammo that has one flash hole, I had a few hang fires, but I didn't have any duds, and I actually didn't even have any times that I needed to get a second primer hit, which I had with that ammo in the past. Now, it's possible that in the past my spring was perfectly fine, and the real problem was that firing pin depth issue. But I'm going to keep this spring installed anyway because it works really well and it gives me reliable hits. So there's no reason to use that old spring because this one works so well. I've read a lot of stories of people saying that they had a hang fire or a dud every other round, or some similar problems like that, but then once they installed one of these, it solved the problem outright. Now, that's not my personal experience because I was having other issues with my rifle, but I can see why that's the case if somebody did actually have a weak spring. One other problem I was worried about with this was that my bolt would be harder to get open because of that stiffer spring strength. I actually didn't experience that problem at all. It seems like it's the exact same to open and close it, and I don't really have any issues there. It seems like my speed hasn't really changed. So for me, I was worried about the speed at which I could open and close the bolt, or the stiffness of opening and closing the bolt. I was worried about the difficulty and ease of disassembly, and I was also worried about just wasting my money. Like, what if I buy it and it doesn't solve the problem, which in my case, it might not have. I'm honestly not sure. But here's the deal. If you do waste your money, this was $12. So maybe it is the case that I wasted that $12, but even if I did, I'm very happy with this product because for the price, I can guarantee that my Mauser is going to get a strong hit every time, which I can't always necessarily guarantee with surplus parts. And that's usually one of the other problems. When you have a surplus gun, you try to buy surplus parts for your surplus gun, you get surplus parts. And sometimes those surplus parts are in the same or worse condition as the part that you're trying to replace it with. In this case, you're getting a newly manufactured part that you know is going to work. Next week, I'm going to be doing a video on 3 things to troubleshoot if you were having light strikes with your 98 pattern Mauser. In this case, 2447s and M48s, the Yugo Mausers, which normally aren't included in that list, are because the action type is still the same even if there's not perfect parts interchangeability. I can't really tell you a perfect way to know whether or not this type of thing is going to help you with your Mauser, unless it's the last thing you have. But here's the deal, even if you don't know if this is the problem and you spend the money to get it, you know you're getting a valuable part that will help you and you rule out a problem for really not that much money. It can increase the surplus ammo that you are able to shoot, and that can be a really big advantage, especially right now with the ammo crisis that we're having. If you can shoot cheaper surplus ammo, that will save you quite a bit of money, and it's oftentimes more available than everything else. Until next week, when I talk about the 3 ways to troubleshoot light strikes with your Mauser, I put a Wolff spring kit in my Mauser and I lived on.
Which proves it's hard to get the best of a man named John.
John.